Hi everyone, I'm Ray Crawford. You know, even though spring football is in full swing on some campuses, coaches and their staff certainly have to keep one eye at least on recruiting. Allen Trieu from Scout.com is our recruiting insider. And Allen, let's start in the SEC. Alabama's had a stronghold on recruiting there for years, it seems like. But could Ole Miss be finally starting to gain ground and overtake the Tide?
Well, they've been recruiting extremely well the last couple of years, the Rebels have. And this year is no different. They're currently at number 3 overall in the Scout team rankings. They're number 1 in the SEC, but I always caution that the team rankings look a lot different in April than they do in February. And Alabama, which is right now at 16, always seems to find a way to creep into the top 5, top 3 nationally. So I would not count Nick Saban and the Tide out just yet, but the Rebels are offering a very formidable challenge to their throne in the SEC recruiting world.
All right, let's move over now to the ACC. You've got Miami and Florida State at the top of the rankings. Florida was able to close on some guys on signing day a few months ago. So what's happening in Florida?
Well, I think a lot of the top kids are staying home. The resurgence at Florida State has a big part of that. Miami is recruiting extremely well, and some of those top Sunshine State studs are choosing to stay back in the state where before they were starting to look at some of the schools we had just talked about, like Ole Miss and Alabama. But Florida State's also going outside of their home state. They recently picked up a 5-star cornerback commit in Levante Taylor. So the Seminoles are going to have one of the top recruiting classes in the country yet again. And Miami, with 19 commits, look like they're going to not be too far behind.
All right, so speaking of Miami, Al Golden did some shifting of his staff last month. He's pushing hard for the class of 2016. But if the Hurricanes struggle again this year, all that work could go to waste. How could a potential departure by him affect the U?
Well, it always affects recruiting, but I think we've seen in the last couple of years where coaching changes have not necessarily affected top classes that get put together so far ahead of time. So that's the good thing for Miami is they have these kids committed so far in advance. They're all forming a bond already together. These kids are all ready to play together, to room together in some cases. They've already decided that. But I still think you have to put out a good product on the field to keep some of these guys from looking around. So they're going to need a good season on the field. And obviously Al Golden sticking around is a big part of the reason those kids chose Miami in the first place. All
right, Allen Trieu, always on top of his game. Thanks for the insight.
No problem, Ray. Thank you.
And speaking of the state of Florida, how have the first months gone for Jim McElwain and the Gators? Our insider tells us about his business approach to the program, only on Campus Insiders.